writing for a while, you can get caught in a rut. And the best thing about VR is that it forces you to revisit all of your tools as a writer. Like, just to give you an example, if I were to try to write a compelling murder revelation sequence, I would be using tools of intercutting, right? I would intercut between this scene and that scene and build up tension. And I would write that into the script. But since every cut is no longer a cut between images, it's a cut between locations, you have to understand that whenever you cut in a VR film, it takes the audience like 1 or 2 seconds. It takes even me half a second to readjust myself to the space, right? Like I was here and then now I'm there. And just that motion, just that transportation, even if I watch a lot of content, it take me like half a second to get used to it. Oh, I'm here. I was looking here. I'm still there, but now I'm looking here. That half a second can ruin the pace of your film. That pacing that you were trying to create through editing has now worked against you. So these tools keep changing, and as audiences mature, maybe, eventually we'll come full circle and get back to French New Wave, and there'll be, people just jump cutting in VR and making everyone throw up willy-nilly. That's fine. Yeah, but when we're coming down to brass tacks and talking about building a curriculum that you're teaching to students, you don't want to do that. You want to get the basics right, and that's what it's all about. Learning how to make VR films is basically just learning how to make films all over again. And another, like I was saying, the way we give information has to change. And unless we create, so it's all about creating points of focus in the scene, like different points of focus that you direct viewers to, where important information lies, and then they might not see what you want them to see, and that's when the drama fails. So it's all about controlling where audiences are looking, how they're looking at them, and how they flow through a scene. How you write the scene and how they react to the scene may be two very different things, and it'll make or break your film. Sorry. Yeah, and no, wait. Yeah, I want to talk about editing and writing. Like, a lot of it comes down to, in the writing process itself, you have to be aware of the medium and the way it's consumed. Like, you have to identify how you're moving from, so it's no longer about moving from plot point to plot point, it's about moving from a point of interest to a point of interest, because that's the only thing the audience is actually following. They're not following your plot necessarily, they're following what's interesting to them, and that is where you should be placing your plot, to make sure that they align together. As an example, I'm full of examples. If you have two characters that are talking to each other, one guy in a prison cell, two people are talking. One guy is a prisoner, the other guy is his lawyer. The prisoner is talking about how he was wrongfully convicted. Yeah, it's a 5-minute heartfelt speech that's all about convincing the lawyer that he's innocent. You can have this scene in a normal film, and you can also do it in VR. The content remains the same. But what is it about shooting that scene just like that in VR? Just put it simply, you're wasting the gift of VR itself. When you take a dialogue scene and you just plonk it in without any thought of what the medium is, you're wasting the opportunity to use it for something more. The aspects, so I'm not going to go into how you direct an entire film, I'm going to go into what is different about directing for VR. And one of the most important things is pretty much working with your actors, because they're very wonderful yet feeble people. Bollywood is obsessed with the close-up. Most people want to become actors so they can see themselves be 60 feet tall on a silver screen, right? Which may not come true, but when it comes to acting for VR, there has to be an adaptation to the medium. One of these adaptations is your acting style itself. And how are you emoting through your face or your body, and when do you use what? We all know what it means to fully emote with your body, because we all have seen theater and stuff like that. In that case, it's similar to VR because the actor's body is always in full view, no matter where he's standing, unless he's being obstructed by an object or furniture or something like that. You will always see him head to toe. and that means that he has to act with his entire body. So you need to sit down with your actors and explain to them, not explain, but decide amongst yourself, like, how do your shoulders look when you're tense? How do your feet move when you're happy? How do your hands look when you're sad? You know, that kind of physicality really comes through in VR because your face really doesn't. That's a technical issue that we have. Acting according to how far you are from the camera. Literally, it's if you go further than 7 or 8 feet from the camera, the audience can no longer see them. Not they don't become invisible, but the pixels, then the resolution becomes so bad that you may not necessarily see very minute and detailed facial expressions. And also what happens, the further they go away from the camera, the smaller volume they hold in the context of the entire frame. And therefore less visually important they become, and more easily your audience can be distracted by something else and not connect with them. So keeping your audience's attention by not teaching, but working with your actors to bring out the physicality of an emotion is a wonderful technique that we use all the time. And there's something in it for actors also. Like, honestly, when it comes to VR, like I told you, you can't cheat anything. When you're building a set, you're building all four walls, right? And the beautiful part about that is now, and there's no frame. So an actor is never limited by the frame. He can never walk out of frame, and he can never walk out of a set. So he has complete freedom to add layers and value to the film through movement, through choreography, and just by having the fact that no one's staring at him. You know, there aren't 20 assistants staring right into his face when I say action, like we do in Bollywood. Everybody leaves the set, then we roll, and you can't see anything. It's just the actor, and it's so much easier for them to get into character that they perform a lot better. And when it comes to making the film, when you're pretty much set to roll, and then as a director you walk on the set, it's very important to understand that however talented your previous guy might be, he's not that talented to replicate real life, to actually go on your set and interact, to flow through your set and understand how audiences will watch it. It's as simple as just standing in the middle of the room and going like this and thinking, I'm the audience. Where would I look? Where do I look, and where do I end up looking, no matter where I place the camera? That becomes a focal point, and I can choreograph actors and props and actions around that space where the eye is naturally drawn to. I'll talk more about that when we talk about design flow. And camera placement, like the first question that always pops into your mind that you can never answer ever is, what's the first shot going to be? Where do you place the camera for the first shot? Camera placement in VR is such a tricky thing because think about it this way: if I shoot this room from eye level, no scene, no drama, no plot, no nothing. I just take the shot and I show it to you. If I take it from eye level, the first emotion that you get is, oh, okay, I'm normal, eye level, I feel normal, I'm a person, and I'm just looking at this. Let's see what's going on. I take that camera, I take it 2 feet higher, or maybe 3 feet higher. Now the camera's 9 feet high. Same shot, put the headset on. Now the audience thinks, oh, what? I'm really tall. What? Am I a giant? Am I a security camera? Am I a ghost? The way I'm seeing the film changes. Take the camera, put it 3 feet lower, put it 3 feet high. Put the headset on, suddenly you're like, oh, am I a midget? Am I an animal? Am I a dog? And it also changes the kind of information you're getting. If I put the camera 2 feet low, maybe I'll see something under the table that you couldn't see from eye level. The kind of information that you can deliver to an audience changes just by your camera placement. And it changes how you experience it emotionally as well. Take this room. Who's the safest person in this room?
Yes, sir.
It's me. You know why? Because I'm standing against the wall and I can see the door. Right? That's the thing, right? People, you want to face the door because danger might come from there. You want to face a wall because that's secure. If I place the camera here, I can get that same sensation. But if I'm making a horror film, how do I make someone feel vulnerable? You expose them from every side. That will tell you how you're going to place your camera movement. How you're going to place your camera. Just these little things, how you want the experience to go, will inform how the camera should be moving, static, tall, low, inside, outside, doesn't matter. And then we get into the idea of, as a director, you're no longer just directing a frame, you're no longer just directing images, you're directing attention. When we're talking about flowing through points of interest and not just plot, this is the director's bread and butter in VR. So I want to get into. We have time.
Yeah.
I want to get into a bit of what it means to direct attention in VR. One of the most important visual aspects of directing attention is design flow in space. I want to use the.
No?
I want to change. It's off. Can you?
What?
I just want to show something else, but then I don't know how to balance.